on Steelers Talk on a beautiful Friday afternoon after just an absolute shit show of a football game yesterday between the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New England Patriots. The Steelers currently sit at 7-6, and now with the Colts, the Bengals, the Seahawks, and the Ravens left on the schedule, the Steelers' playoff hopes currently on life support. We're going to be breaking it all down right here on the show over the next hour or so. First things first, I have a list of 8 things that absolutely piss me off about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got some things from last night's game that pissed me off. I got some things generally about this team that really pissed me off. I just want to vent a little bit today, guys, so we have a whole segment, just me airing out my grievances. Then also, later in today's show, I'm going to let you know why the Steelers need to start Mason Rudolph over Mitch Trubisky. I don't think this is an emotional decision. I think it's bared out by the facts here. Mason Rudolph needs to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers Week 15 versus the Colts. I'm going to let you know why here towards the end of today's show. Then the middle segment of today's program is going to be a mailbag Q&A. If you guys want to vent, if you guys want to get your thoughts on the show, if you guys have a question for me that you want answered right here on Steelers Talk, this is your opportunity to do so. Now, how do you get your question, your comment, your vent on today's program? Well, here's how. You go down to the live chat, okay, and you use hashtag Steelers along with your questions, or you super chat to get on today's show. Producer Coop, how are you feeling today, my friend?
You know what, Sperry? I feel good. I'll say this, though. That game last night freaking pissed me off.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys watched our watch party last night, thank you to all the real ones that showed up. It just wasn't a fun experience. I mean,
it was bad.
Watching that offense last night with Mitch Trubisky, it was like pulling teeth, man. And it was just, even when the Steelers gave them opportunities in the second half, like the defense, 2 turnovers, very short field, putting yourself in a position to score 2 touchdowns there. You only get 8 points off of those 2 turnovers, and you end up losing this football game by 3 points. It was extremely frustrating. If you guys saw the post-game reaction video on the channel,
go check it out.
Check it out, by the way. It's fiery. I was pissed off, man. So.
Dude, the defense shut them out in the second half, too, and it still wasn't enough for them to win. It's one of the worst losses I've seen. It's definitely the worst loss this season, maybe in the last 2 seasons for the Steelers. It just wasn't good.
Yeah, and I told everybody last night that there's going to be no defending Mike Tomlin from me. I have been one of Mike Tomlin's biggest supporters in Steelers media, and none of that is going to be happening. Nobody should be defending Mike Tomlin after losing 2 straight games at home to 2-10 opponents. It's just not warranted. Now, if Mike Tomlin, can get this team somehow to like the playoffs or something, okay, sure, maybe we can start defending Tomlin again. But these 2 losses here to the Cardinals and Patriots respectively, it's just a straight-up embarrassment to a franchise that claims to be the standard in the National Football League, and it's sad.
What do you guys think is going to be the final record for the Steelers this season? Let us know in the comments section. They're sitting 7-6 right now. Let us know what you think their final record will be. The remaining schedule is not easy, Sperry. They're 3 out of the last 4 are on the road, including next week at Indianapolis before you come home and face the Bengals. Then you go cross-country to Seattle, and you finish the season Week 18 in Baltimore against the Ravens. I think they have to win 3 out of the last 4 to make the playoffs.
You got to win next week.
It doesn't look good, man.
Like I think that if you can beat the Colts on the road, that means that you're kind of back in a sense because you just beat a team that's currently in the playoff picture on the road. If Mason Rudolph comes in, let's say he starts and he plays well, then we're back in the thick of things here. But right now, the Steelers' playoff hopes are on life support. There's no doubt about that. The Bengals game in Week 16, I was very confident that they could win that game going into this week's matchup against the Patriots. After losing against the Cardinals and the Patriots at home, I don't have confidence we can beat the Bengals anymore. So if you beat the Colts, I'll have a little bit more confidence that they can go into Week 16, get that one, and get to 9 wins, which would at least put you in contention to make the playoffs.
I see Damian Roy saying 7-10, Scummy Bum 8-9, Joshua L 8-9. A lot of 8-9s. K Brits has 11-6. He thinks they're going to win out. We'll see about that, man. Look, we'll get into all the records and record predictions and whatnot here and what the Steelers have to do to make the playoffs. But first, Spare Dog, tell them about today's sponsor.
Today's live show is sponsored by PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. If you want to spice up your game days this NFL season, you can get started with PrizePicks right now. And what PrizePicks is that it's a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And if you're wondering how daily fantasy sports work, well, here's how. It's super simple. You just pick 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their PrizePicks projection. You can even win up to 25 times your money on any entries. Let's take a look at my entry for NFL Week 14 here, where I got the more on Brock Purdy passing yards this week. I got the more on Travis Kelce touchdowns. Kelce almost always gets a touchdown, so I'll take the more on that, and I'll take the more on Saquon Barkley touchdowns as well. You can get your picks in right now before the start of Week 14 on Sunday. Check it out now, prizepicks.com/CLNS, and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With PrizePicks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. So one of the big storylines coming out of yesterday's embarrassment was George Pickens, because it was very obvious by his body language that he is not having fun with the Pittsburgh Steelers right now. He had 5 catches for 19 yards. They didn't really target him down the field. They didn't target him in the red zone one time yesterday. I just feel like when you have an all-world caliber talent like George Pickens here,
got to use him, man.
You got to use him more. And the Steelers, whether it was with Matt Canada, Mike Sullivan, it doesn't matter. They're not using this guy enough. And right now, I mean, with the way George Pickens, we all know he's a very volatile personality. I mean, is it possible that he demands a trade out of Pittsburgh this offseason? I sure fucking hope not. But at this point, I can't say it's impossible. I really can't. I mean, you're going to be rebooting this entire offense next year with a new offensive play caller, with potentially a new quarterback. I mean, does George Pickens really want to do that? And, you know, the answer to that question actually could be yes. Like, if they get a new quarterback and a new offensive coordinator, like, that might reinvigorate George Pickens' feelings about this team moving forward. But right now, he seems very frustrated, and it honestly wouldn't surprise me if he had a major blow-up by the end of this season.
It wouldn't surprise me at all either. I do think he'll wait to see what happens in the offseason before he officially would demand a trade or not, but it doesn't look good. He showed his frustrations on the sideline yesterday, and I think he was right to do so. I mean, I know a lot of people in the chat are saying he's not going to demand a trade, but don't be so sure, man. That's all I'm saying. It's just like
you never know, man.
You never know what's going to happen.
Especially with wide receivers like this, man. He was barely blocking when it was a run play yesterday. Like he just didn't look like he had his heart in it yesterday, and he just kind of knew that Mitch Trubisky is just not going to get it done for this team offensively here while Kenny Pickett is out. So we do have a super chat menu today. We appreciate everybody that donates to the channel. Every single dollar that we make goes to getting you guys more Steelers content here and better Steelers content. So $5 today. We'll do it. Here we go, Steelers Chant. We got the towels today. So we'll wave those around for you for a $5. A $10. We got I got lemon juice. Coop's got Patron. We'll take some shots for you guys. Lord knows we could be doing some drinking after last night's game. A $20 super chat. You can get your name on the Steelers Hard Hat Hall of Fame. There's just a couple spots left on the stripe here. Send in a 20, and we'll put your name on there. $100, you get to join Steelers Talk Gold Club. You get an awesome Super Chat sticker, and you get a shout-out on every single Steelers live show. So here's all of our Gold Club members for today's shout-outs. Shout-out to Austin, Mo Love, Brian Love, Anthony Fuller, Nathan Glass, James Lombardo, DJ V, Patty Gustafson, Elliptic 6, Alexander Watson, Zach Eckerd, Troy Hart, Andrew Longoria, Jesse Johnson, Go Blue Buckeye, Samuel Pugh, Hot Rod 24, Black and Gold Emperor 40, Lord Buddy Bear, Max Payne, Chad Corley, F1 Video Watcher, Steelers Dad, K Drizzy, Andrew Arnold, Jesper Turkelson, Jacob Wizerak, Nightmare, Sporting XD, DJ KJ, Gwendolyn, Latanya, and of course our MVP from last night's watch party, Ethereum. So thank you guys so much for all of your support of this channel. Put in $100. And you can join Steelers Talk Gold Club. Or if you really want to go crazy, you can send a $500 Venmo or Cash App, and you can become a Steelers Talk Black Diamond. The additional benefits of that is that you get a unique Super Chat sticker every time that you Super Chat, and then also you get a customized jersey with your retired number, name on the back of the jersey. We send it here, and I'll wear it on the Steelers Talk watch parties throughout the season. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. We really do appreciate every single one of you out there in Steelers Nation. And you know what? We understand that not everybody can Super Chat, Coop, but you know what everybody can do? Like the freaking video, man. Click that thumbs up icon. We got over 100 people watching today. It's going to be a spicy show. Just going to warn you right now. Let's try to get to 30 likes before we get to this first segment here. This first segment coming up is going to be 8 things that piss me off about this year's Pittsburgh Steelers team, man. I'm going to vent a little bit. You know, this is a very troubling time in Steelers Nation, and I think it's good to air out some of these grievances and kind of let off some steam. So that's what I'm going to do today. So we got to 35 likes. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you click that thumbs up icon. It really does help out the channel, helps expand this live show out to as many Steelers fans as possible. So we really do appreciate all of your guys' support. Coop, how are we doing in terms of graphics here on our first seg? Sounds good, my friend. All right, so let's see who's here. We got Young Noticeable 25. What's up, man? We got Joshua. We've got, I don't even know how to pronounce that. We got Jesse James Gray. We got Exify. What's up, Exify? We got Soldier for Christ. Good to see you again, Soldier for Christ. We got She Love Tay. We got Matthew Hughes. We've got Faku. We got Caveman. We got Alejandro. We got Noah Hood in here. Got a good crew today, man. Got a good crew. You know, man, when our team is down in the dumps like we are right now, us Steelers fans, we got to stay together, man. We got to stay together. We got to stay together as a community here. Season's technically not over, but I think it's pretty clear at this point the Pittsburgh Steelers aren't going to be hoisting their 7th Super Bowl trophy this year, unfortunately. All right, Coop, are we feeling ready to get going here? All right. All right, let's get this thing going right now. 8 things that piss me off about the Pittsburgh Steelers here in 2023. Coming at you right now. Can we start that over there, Coop? I don't know why it went to black for so long. All right. Sorry about that, folks. F Coop in the chat. Let's get into this first segment. Coming at you right now. After taking 2 embarrassing losses to the Cardinals and Patriots, respectively, over the last 2 weeks, and now the Steelers' playoff hopes being on life support, today on Steelers Talk, I want to discuss the things that absolutely piss me off about this football team, not only in Week 14 against the New England Patriots, but also just in general. I think it's important to maybe air out some of these grievances, let off a little bit of steam, because right now, Steelers Nation is kind of down in the dumps right now. So before we get into my grievances here, do me a favor. Let me know down there in the comments section and share with the class. What is something that pisses you off about the Pittsburgh Steelers here in 2023? Before we get things going, get down in the comments section and let us know. So the first thing I want to discuss here, the first thing that pisses me off, is that the refs didn't do their fucking job in the fourth quarter of last night's game. Now, this is not the number one reason why the Steelers lost that football game last night, but the Steelers were driving with a chance to tie or take the lead. It's 4th down and 3, and the Steelers attempt to draw the Patriots off sides, and they did it. Steelers offensive line not moving, and clear as day, video evidence. Tavai, the Patriots special teamer, jumps off sides, and it's clear as day. I mean, even the Patriots defenders, the people on the Patriots were yelling at their teammate because they know that he fucked up. And somehow, some way, the Zebras called this a false start on the Steelers. They had to punt it away, less time for Trubisky to work the next time around, and the Steelers ended up losing the football game. But I want to make this clear. The Pittsburgh Steelers should have won this game Regardless, and really the main person, the main player to blame, in my opinion, outside of the coaching staff here is Mitchell Trubisky. And Mitchell Trubisky's play yesterday, the way that he played in that crucial game, not only for this team, but for his career personally, it pisses me the fuck off, man. I'm not going to lie. It was absolute dog shit. All right? This was one of the worst performances I have ever seen from a Steelers starting quarterback that I've ever seen. And listen, I went into the week saying you had to start Mitchell Trubisky. All right? Mason Rudolph had only taken reps with the scout team before this past week. It was a short week. You weren't going to play Mason, okay? But Mitchell Trubisky had his chance to prove himself, and instead he fell flat on his face. You look at the numbers from last night, 23 of 35, 190 yards passing, 1 touchdown. He did run for a touchdown as well, and then he had an interception. Could have been 3 interceptions, though. There was one that got called back thanks to a pass interference call, and then there was another one that was just straight up dropped by the Patriots defender. His rating was a 74.7. Honestly, that's way too high in my opinion. Whatever that rating system does, whatever that formula is, it has to be wrong because Mitchell Trubisky simply could not move the football through the air last night without throwing it 2 to 3 yards beyond the line of scrimmage. He could not complete a pass, down the field. They didn't get George Pickens involved down the field. It was mostly screens and short passes and all these different things. And every time Trubisky tried throwing the ball down the field, except for that one exception to Deontay Johnson for the touchdown, it was almost intercepted. So, I mean, watching this offense yesterday with Trubisky at the quarterback position, it was like pulling teeth. It was that painful to watch. And, with the defense giving that offense as much opportunities as they did with short field situations, this is just a straight up a shameful performance from Mitchell Trubisky. This should have been a win. And as he said in his post-game press conference last night, he didn't play good enough to win this football game. Now, because Trubisky did not play well, I do believe that Mason Rudolph needs to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers here in Week 15. I just don't know. Tomlin said in his post-game press conference that he didn't even consider pulling Mitchell Trubisky despite having 3 turnover-worthy throws in just the first half. I just don't know how Tomlin could not even consider it, but at the end of the day, man, at this point, this offense stinks with Trubisky. You got to go with Rudolph, in my opinion, and that's where I'm at. All right, so let me know down there in the comment section which of these quarterbacks should start for the black and gold here in Week 15 versus the Colts to try and save our season. Type MT for Mitchell Trubisky, type MR for Mason Rudolph, or if you think the newly signed Trace McSorley, Penn State legend, should get a shot, type TM down there in the comment section. This is also going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So YouTube's going to throw you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, take advantage of that time by answering today's pinned question. Another thing that pisses me off about the Pittsburgh Steelers is that they're wasting turnovers, okay? The Pittsburgh Steelers defense yesterday not only shut out the New England Patriots in the second half, keeping them in the football game. I mean, the Patriots barely even moved the football at all in the final 2 quarters. But they were also able to get 2 major turnovers, one on defense with an interception, created by Landon Roberts, and then there was one on a special teams blocked punt by Miles Killebrew, and the Steelers walked away with 8 points instead of 10 points or 11 points, or even 14 points, which is probably what it should have been, because you had the short field. There was one where you took over at the 15, the other one you took over at the 25. There's no excuse why the Pittsburgh Steelers shouldn't score touchdowns in both of those situations. But even if you don't score a touchdown, even if you don't score a touchdown in both situations, you got to at least score on both of those situations. There's no excuse for walking away with any of those drives with 0 points, and this really was the difference in the football game. It's just straight up shameful at this point, guys. All right, now coming up here, more things that piss me off about the Pittsburgh Steelers. But first, I want to tell you about today's sponsor at PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. If you want to spice up your game days this NFL season, you can get started with PrizePicks right now. It is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And if you're looking for a more fun way to spend game days during the NFL season, PrizePicks is going to be perfect for you. It's super easy to play here. All you got to do is choose 2 to 6 players, and if they'll go for more or less than their PrizePicks projection, you can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. This weekend, I am going to be taking the more on Brock Purdy passing yards, the more on Travis Kelce touchdowns, and the more on Saquon Barkley touchdowns. If you know ball, you can definitely make some money with Prize Picks today. Check it out now at prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks, so get them in right now before they kick things off on Sunday. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. Something else that really pissed me off, you guys can check the tape on the watch party on Thursday, the 4th and 2 call. And no, I'm not talking about the one that ended the game, the terrible deep pass from Mitchell Trubisky to Deontay Johnson that ended the game. I'm talking about the one after the interception. You get down into the red zone, you're in position to score, and you're in position to potentially get within one possession with a Chris Boswell field goal. Now, in this situation, not only does head coach Mike Tomlin decide to go for it, but he decides to put it in the hands of Mitch Trubisky, who had not been an efficient passer all game long. I disagreed with the call at the time, and not converting on that 4th and 2 is unacceptable, because if you go for the field goal in that situation, you add those 3 points to the total for the Pittsburgh Steelers. The game is 21-21, and this game probably goes into overtime. Now, you never know because it completely changes the flow of the game, but you really needed those 3 points, man, and putting it in the hands of Mitch Trubisky. And not only that, but you had George Pickens one-on-one on a fade route in the end zone, and you decide to go make the first read, the Pat Freiermuth over the middle, double covered? Fucking joking me? That's just unacceptable play calling. That's an unacceptable call from head coach Mike Tomlin. And if you're going to go for it, you need to get the ball. You need to get the ball to 14, man. There's just no other way around it. All right, another thing that pissed me off from last night. Passing on 3rd and 2. The Steelers are driving in the final drive of the game. It's 3rd and 2 with 5 seconds left to the 2-minute warning. Everybody is thinking, even our Patriots host on his watch party was saying, this one's got to be a run. And they end up passing it, and Mitch Trubisky throws it over George Pickens' head on a slant by probably 5 yards. Just absolutely unacceptable. If you're Mike Sullivan, the offensive play caller, you have to call a better play than that. And if you're Mitch Trubisky, you have to give George Pickens a better ball. Plain and simply. And I really think over these last 2 weeks against the Cardinals and the Patriots respectively, Mike Sullivan has been exposed as a play caller. There's a reason why. He's only been a play caller in an interim role. This brother cannot call plays. I understand he's working with Matt Canada's terrible playbook here, but man, you got to know that 3rd and 2 with 5 seconds left, and the run game is the best part of your offense. You got to get the ball to your best offensive player, Jaylen Warren, right now, and he didn't do that. So Mike Sullivan does absolutely deserve some of the blame for these last 2 weeks. All right, another thing that pisses me off, and now we're getting to more of the general stuff, but it did happen last night too. It's that Mike Tomlin and this Steelers team waste timeouts in the second half of football games, and it pisses me the fuck off, man. Like, seriously, like, you need those timeouts, especially if you're losing, and the Steelers wasted not 1, but 2 of them in that football game. Mitch Trubisky couldn't get the offense going, and by the time he broke the huddle, there was 3 seconds left on the play clock. That's unacceptable. You got to get the game. You got to get the play going. Then there's another one where Tomlin calls a timeout before a 4th down. Those timeouts are precious, especially when you're losing a football game in the second half. And Mike Tomlin this year, there's just been too many times where they have wasted these timeouts in these football games, and it's absolutely unacceptable. And like I said, I've been a Mike Tomlin defender, but this is something that Tomlin and the Steelers coaching staff need to fix here if Mike Tomlin wants to be a Super Bowl winning head coach once again here in Pittsburgh. Now, some 2 very big things that pisses me off specifically about the Steelers offense. And the first thing here is that they're wasting George Pickens' talent. All right, before the season, Ryan Clark, former Steeler, said that George Pickens was more physically talented than Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in this game right now. And, I mean, there's definitely an argument for that. George is 6'3", 200 pounds with a huge wingspan, big hands, has great body control, is one of the best 50-50 ball receivers in the league. And for some damn reason, this offense doesn't want to use him as a deep threat. I mean, what the hell are we thinking here, guys? Like, it seems like most of the time that Pickens is getting the ball, it's like a screen or a short pass, right? It's not down the field where he's at his best one-on-one. I mean, every time this motherfucker's one-on-one with a corner, you should be throwing it up to him deep. That's the way it should be. He should have an automatic hot route call where if the safety is shading and he's got one-on-one coverage, you say, George, go run in a straight line and I'm throwing you the football. But no, this Steelers offense can't even figure that out. And honestly, with the way George Pickens is behaving right now, with all the bad body language and the lack of effort as a run blocker, I don't blame George for that. All right, if I was George Pickens and I knew I was an all-world caliber talent and I knew this offense and this team refused to use my talent in the proper way, and I only had 19 yards on 5 catches in a crucial game, I'd be pissed off too. And you look at the numbers this season in 13 games, just 49 catches for George. It should be at least 75 for him at this point, in my opinion. He only has 3 touchdowns. This guy should be putting up close to 15 touchdowns in a year. He should be getting 1 touchdown a game. That should be what he should be getting close to. This guy is a top 10 level talent in this league, and the Pittsburgh Steelers offense has been wasting him all season long. Finally here, Jaylen Warren, the most impactful Steelers offensive player this year, isn't even a bona fide starter. That is absolutely unacceptable, especially with the way the offense has struggled. If you find a player that is actually making a big impact for you, play him more. Why do I have to explain this? I don't understand it. Right now, his points above replacement is 22.6. That is the highest of any skill position player on the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's higher than George Pickens, that's higher than Deontay Johnson, and that is way higher than Najee Harris. All right, Najee, he's got more touches, all right? Over 40 more touches than Jaylen this year. Okay, he's had more touches in just about every single game. His points above replacement is 1.9. Najee Harris has been worth 2 points to the Steelers offense this season, and Jaylen Warren is getting close to 23. And seriously, you're not elevating this guy in the depth chart? I mean, I don't care where they were drafted. I want the best players to get the ball more often, period. And the Steelers just refuse to do that, and that's a joke because we have the most valuable offensive player on this team sitting on the sidelines for a majority of the snaps. That's unacceptable. Okay, Jaylen Warren is the main engine for this offense, and he's not even on the field half the time. I mean, how are we supposed to have success with that? And that's not to say that Najee doesn't have a role in this offense. He does. He should. But it should be the other way around. Jaylen should be the number one, in my opinion. He's more dynamic. He makes bigger plays. He's more explosive. All these different things. He should be getting more of the workload. Period. Plain and simply, book it. And it's just a joke that we don't do that, guys. Now, do you agree with me? Let me know down there in the comment section. Should Jaylen Warren be featured more in this offense? Give me a yes or give me a no. I want to hear from you guys. How do you feel about Jaylen Warren's workload so far this season? That'll be it for me today, guys. Thanks for bearing with me here as I aired out some of my grievances with this about this football team with you guys. I do believe, I have to believe, that brighter days are on the horizon here in Steelers Nation. But there's no doubt about it. It's a dark day here among Steelers fans, and it's okay to be upset. It means that you care, guys. So make sure you go ahead and click that subscribe button. Join our family. We love you. We care about you, and we'll see you next video. All right, so that's one segment in the books here, Coop. We've got the Steelers Talk mailbag coming up. If you want to get a question on the mailbag, make sure you use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat. Now, Coop, I kind of aired out some of my grievances there. What's kind of your thoughts on what I had to say? And do you think I'm going too far, or do you think I'm justified in some of the things I'm saying here?
No, I mean, there's a lot to air out after last night's performance. I mean, it like I said, I think it's probably the worst loss over the last 2 seasons for the Steelers. And it was so disheartening. You obviously don't have your starting quarterback, and I know that doesn't help. But you expect Trubisky to at least play at a replacement level, and he did not do that.
He wasn't even he didn't even play like a backup. He
was horrible.
He played like a third string.
And that's why we're talking about Mason Rudolph starting next week, because Trubisky just didn't play well enough. So that pissed me off. The refs not doing their job pissed me off. I mean, there was just a lot of it. I think you hit on most of it, but Man, it was
Is there anything that I didn't hit that pisses you off?
nothing that I can think of. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head, man.
Yeah, I was thinking about it last night. I was like, we were going to just do news and rumors for our first segment today, but I'm like, you know what?
There's too many things.
There's just too many things that need to be addressed and need to be said where we just kind of shifted gears here. Let me know what you guys think about what I had to say. I feel bad for some of the really great talent, especially on this defense. I feel bad for TJ. I feel bad for Cam.
Absolutely.
I feel bad for Minka. I feel bad for really feel bad for Alex Highsmith. I hope he's going to be okay. We still haven't gotten a true injury update on him with his neck injury. But make sure you guys get your questions in. Hashtag Steelers or Super Chat. If you want to vent, if you have an idea, if you have a question that you want answered, I will answer it for you guys. How are we looking on questions, Coop?
We need some more questions.
We need some more questions, guys. We got 120 people watching. I just aired out my grievances. Now it's your turn. Let me know what frustrates you. Let me know what your ideas are.
If you have draft or free agency questions coming up, you can ask those as well. I mean, everything you guys have, just let us know. I know, man.
And the thing is, too, Coop, make sure you use hashtag Steelers or Super Chat along with your question, all right? If you don't use hashtag Steelers, then we can't see your question.
Like Joshua L., ask that same question and then put hashtag Steelers at the end of your message.
And, I know that there's a lot of talk right now, Coop, about firing Mike Tomlin. And I really do understand the anger and the frustration that those people have right now.
For sure.
And like I said at the top of the show, I'm not here to defend Mike Tomlin today. These last 2 weeks have been a fucking joke for this franchise, and Mike Tomlin bears responsibility for that, a large
100%.
chunk of that responsibility. But is the solution to fire Mike Tomlin and start over at the head coaching position next year? I don't think that's a fair solution either. I don't think that's the solution, man. I really don't, because not only are you taking a risk, whether or not that head coach is going to be better for the Steelers than Mike Tomlin, but also you're pretty much forfeiting any shot that you have at a Super Bowl next year. And when I look at this Steelers roster, this team's ready to win now, right? And I really don't think they're that far away from being a legitimate title contender again. I think if either Kenny Pickett develops next year or they get the right quarterback, plus they get the right offensive coordinator, I think we're talking about this team in the Super Bowl conversation next year.
Absolutely.
You still have T.J. Watt, Alex Highsmith, Cam Hayward, Landon Roberts is a Pro Bowl linebacker this year probably. Then you got Minka Fitzpatrick. And then you got some budding stars on defense too in Joey Porter Jr. and Keanu Benton. Not to mention you're getting Corey Trice Jr. back next year. And then on offense, hopefully you'll still have George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Pat Freiermuth, Jaylen Warren. You're still going to have some nice pieces here.
No doubt.
So if you get the quarterback right and you get the offensive coordinator right, I still think Tomlin commands the respect of this locker room. I really do think that. I believe that if you get those two things right, the offensive coordinator and the quarterback, whether that's Kenny Pickett or somebody else, we're going to be talking about this team as a potential Super Bowl caliber team just next year. But if you get a new head coach, all that goes away because first-year head coaches have never won Super Bowls ever in the National Football League. I don't think there's one first-year head coach that has won a Super Bowl. Am I wrong with that? Switzer with the Cowboys, maybe?
Maybe. I'm not sure. I think he might be the exception.
There's definitely not many. All right? It takes time to build a culture in the National Football League.
All right. You ready to get into this mailbag?
If we have enough questions.
I think we are ready to go, my friend. Give me one moment to switch back, and then we'll get in.
All right, man. Let's get into this mailbag right here. Really excited to see what you guys have to say. Can't wait to answer your questions and address your concerns here right now on the Steelers Talk Mailbag. It is the Steelers Talk Mailbag here in Week 14. I am your host, Jack Sperry. And you, the Steelers fans, have put in a bunch of questions this week about the black and gold after losing to the New England Patriots on Thursday Night Football. It's definitely a dark time here in Steelers Nation, and I'm here to address your concerns and answer your questions. Before I get into those, Go ahead and click that subscribe button today to join the most interactive Steelers YouTube community here on YouTube. We have 2 live shows per week. We give you guys opportunities to get your voice heard here on the mailbags every single week. Also, we have the watch party every single week as well, where we have a bunch of community engagement. We have the largest Steelers community, watch party community here on YouTube. It's all 100% free. So if you want to join our family today and talk some Steelers with us 24/7, 365, you'll click that subscribe button right now. Got a $5 super chat from my man Soapy Nugget. What's up, Soapy? Says, we need someone who can actually snap the ball. I am so sick and tired of Mason Cole, and I want him gone so bad. Absolutely, man. Mason Cole is going to get replaced this year. And by the way, I remember last offseason, I had the Steelers drafting a center in one of my mock drafts, and I got absolutely crucified by Steelers fans saying there's no way we can replace Mason Cole because he was so good last year apparently. And I was like, he was okay. He was a starter-capable player in 2022, but before that, he was a really bad center. So I was worried that he was going to regress to the mean here in 2023, and he did, unfortunately. So he's terrible. He's one of the worst snappers of the football in the league. It's always low, which makes things really difficult for the quarterback, especially because the Steelers are always in shotgun formation, it seems like. So Mason Cole, hot garbage, needs to be replaced, whether that be through the draft or in free agency. Then we got one from Nico here. Says, should we fire Terrell Austin? The defense has actually been the bright spot here for the Pittsburgh Steelers this year. I don't think that you fire Terrell Austin. I think the bigger issue, obviously, is the offense here. I mean, this defense, yes, they gave up 21 points in the first half last night, but one of those was a touchdown given up on a short field thanks to a Mitch Trubisky interception. And then the other two, you obviously don't want to give those up, but Damontae KZ had a rough first half. Mykal Walker had a tough first half. But overall, when this team is healthy and this defense is healthy, I mean, it's really, really good. T.J. Watt's awesome. Alex Highsmith is awesome. Joey Porter Jr. is a budding star. I don't think that they're going to replace Terrell Austin. I think more likely they're going to clean shop on the offensive side of the ball, and I think that's where their focus should lie. Then we got one from Jack Rainman here. He says, if or when the Steelers fire Mike Tomlin at the end of the year, who should the team look to for their next head coach? So, Jack, I like your name, man, but, I don't know, man. I just don't see the Steelers moving on from Mike Tomlin. I think the way Art Rooney is thinking about this here is that here's a head coach that has never had a losing season. All right? He's won a Super Bowl for us. He's kept us afloat, kept this team afloat despite some really big issues over the last several years, right? Big Ben aging, getting hurt, bringing in Kenny Pickett, and this offense just sucking up. And now, obviously, Mike Tomlin has a role to play in all of that. He hired Matt Canada. He decided to draft Kenny Pickett. All those things are granted. But then you get into this year, and you're sitting at 7-4, and then all of a sudden your starting quarterback gets hurt, Matt Canada gets fired, and it's just a whole mess right now. And I think that Art Rooney's going to give Mike Tomlin another shot. So I really don't think he's going to get fired, guys. I wouldn't hold my breath if you're a Steelers fan that wants Mike Tomlin to be fired this year. If we stink next year, then I think we can start talking about that. But for all those people out there that want Mike Tomlin fired, I want to hear from you guys. Who do you want to be the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers? If you think Mike Tomlin sucks, tell me who's going to be better for today's pinned comment here on the show. YouTube's going to throw an ad break here in just a couple of seconds. When that happens, tell me who you think should be the next head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Then we got one from William here. It says, who do you think would be a good OC candidate? So personally, I would love Eric Bieniemy, the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator. I really like his offensive structure. I think Sam Howell, who was a fifth-round rookie quarterback, or second-year quarterback drafted in the fifth round, first year starting, has looked pretty decent, actually. Also, I would love somebody in the Kyle Shanahan or Sean McVay tree. Zach Robinson, the quarterback's coach there in L.A. Chris Forster, the run game coordinator in San Francisco. Darrell Bevel, the QB coach in Miami. I think any of those guys would be excellent fits. And then I think if you can get a quarterback that can execute that type of system exceptionally well, then I think the Steelers could be in business here, especially with the talent that they have at the skill positions here in Pittsburgh. Now, before we get into the rest of today's show, I want to tell you about today's sponsor at Factor Meals. This holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all your holiday to-dos. Too busy with holiday plans to cook but want to make sure you're eating well? Well, with Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and all the chopping and the prepping and the cooking and all the cleaning up as well, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality that you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy. This holiday season, get Factor and enjoy eating well without the hassle. Simply choose your meals and enjoy fresh, flavor-packed meals delivered straight to your door, ready in just 2 minutes with no prep and no mess. Head on over to factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 and use code SteelersChat50 to get 50% off Factor Meals today. That's code SteelersChat50 at factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 to get 50% off Factor Meals today. Then we got one from Sean here. He says, I think we should just miss the playoffs and just move on. I think it's for the better for the way this season has panned out. It's going to be hard to compete against these good AFC teams. Now, I mean, I sympathize with this, Sean. I really do. I mean, you feel like this season is over. We just lost to 2-10 teams in a row at home. It doesn't really feel like even if we make the playoffs that there's a Super Bowl chance. But if the Steelers literally try to lose from this point forward, Mike Tomlin immediately loses the locker room. You have to realize here that when it comes to an NFL locker room, you're dealing with human beings here that are risking their physical well-being and their mental well-being, for that matter, to play this game. And if an organization just goes out there to try and lose and just try to miss the playoffs and just try to get the best draft position possible, you're immediately going to lose the respect of those players in your locker room. And I think that's why Mike Tomlin, as a head coach, will never, ever, ever embrace tanking. And I think that's a good thing. I want a head coach that wants to win every single game, no matter what. And that's what we have here in Pittsburgh. And that is the Pittsburgh Steelers culture. All right? It is a winning culture here where we're always going to try to win. Will we win these games here in the next 4 games? I don't know. All right? I don't know if the quarterback play is going to be good enough, to be quite frank with you. But I know for sure that this team is going to do their best to make it to the playoffs. And if they do, that will be an accomplishment. Now, will they win the Super Bowl? No. But what they'll tell me is that even with the terrible quarterback play, this team was still a playoff team, which means they're right there. They get the right quarterback and offensive coordinator will be in business in 2024. All right, now we get one from E-Man47. It says, what QBs could the Steelers sign to replace Mitchell Trubisky for the rest of the year? Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, dare I say Tom Brady? I wouldn't hold my breath, guys. It's so late into the season. Matt Canada's offense has completely different terminology than pretty much every other offense in this league. It'd be one thing if it was a Shanahan-style offense where they had the same kind of verbiage, but that's not the case here in Pittsburgh. So Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Tom Brady, these guys have been out of football for the entire year. I really don't see them being options right now. I think your options are Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and Trace McSorley. Whether you like it or not, I think that's the reality. So share your take down there in the comments section. Should the Steelers sign a quarterback in NFL free agency? And if you have a quarterback in mind, let me know down there in the comments section. And I better not see any Colin Kaepernicks down there in the comments. All right, so now we got another one from William here. He says, who do you think would be... Wait. Oh, okay, so this one's from earlier. William says, who do you think would be a good OC candidate? And then I don't even know how to... Coop's cheering in the background. I don't even know how to pronounce this, but Antonio Brown for OC. Hell no. Next question. We got Damian Roy up next. He says, put the equipment manager in at starting quarterback at this point. I mean, Mitchell Trubisky looked like the equipment manager last night. That's all I'm going to say to that, man. Quarterback play was not good enough last night. You got to go with something new in Week 15 to at least try and make something stick here in Pittsburgh, in my opinion. Then you got Young Noticeable 25. Says, please call Rooney and tell him to rent a bus and send Mitch, Wallace, Cole, Peterson, and Chucks on it. I guess we could use Kenny as a backup. I mean, yeah, there's been some disappointing players for the Steelers this year. Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, Mason Cole, all these guys that you mentioned. But definitely, I think that the talent here definitely outweighs the disappointments, which is encouraging for the future. That's the thing. That's kind of the theme of the day here, is that I want Steelers fans to remain hopeful here, because I really do think that there's a ton of talent here, and we're one good offseason away from really getting back to competing for Lombardi trophies yet again. All right, so go ahead and like today's video. If you are a Steelers Talk Real one, if you are staying positive about the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers organization, do us a favor, man. Help out the channel. Do your part here and like today's video. Then we got one from Leighton Baines here. It says, do you think Pickett will be the starting quarterback for the Steelers in 2024? It's a good question, man. I've done a lot of videos on this over the past week, so Leighton, I would say go and check us out here over the last couple days or so, the videos that we put out. But there's things that I like about Kenny, and there's things that I don't, man. Like the things that make me optimistic are Matt Canada's offense sucks. All these different things are happening. The offensive line isn't where it needs to be. And he's actually kept the interceptions down. And the 6 quarters that he was away from Matt Canada was the best 6 quarters that he's played in his career. So those are the positives, but the negatives are there's so many things on tape that just have nothing to do with play calling and are on the quarterback, like pocket presence and, accuracy and all these different things, red zone efficiency, which does have a little bit to do with the play calling. But, I mean, Kenny Pickett is not a good red zone quarterback. It's tough, man. This is going to be a tough decision for the Steelers. I don't envy Omar Khan, but let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What's the % chance that Kenny Pickett is the Steelers' quarterback 1 for the 2024 season? I'll put it at a 75% shot at this point. I think that, I see something as kind of likely is they keep Pickett, but they bring in like a Joshua Dobbs or a Jacoby Brissett, to try to get a little bit of competition going. But in terms of straight out replacing Kenny Pickett, I see that as a less likely option at this point. So I'll give it a 75 to 80% chance Kenny Pickett is the starter in 2024. All right, that'll be it for this week's mailbag, guys. Thank you so much to everybody that submitted questions here for this week's mailbag. If you want to get on next week's mailbag, make sure you click that subscribe button, turn on your notifications, and join us for our Steelers Talk live show next Wednesday right here on the channel. 2 segments down, 1 to go here. I think we got a couple super chats there from Soapy Nugget Coop, so we can check that out. Let me know down in the comments section. What's the % chance that Pickett is the quarterback 1 for the Steelers next year? Got to give him a better coaching staff, but at the same time, he's had a lot of really bad tape. That's showing a lot of concerning things that are on him and not the play calling. Soapy Nugget says, should we move Broderick Jones back to left tackle? He's been playing really good at right tackle. So I honestly, I'm kind of cool with it either way. If they feel like, he's our first-round pick, we traded up for him to be a left tackle, so we're going to move him over there, I'm cool with that, man. I really am. But also if they say right tackle in today's NFL is almost just as important as a left tackle, and he's doing really well over there, and they want to draft, say, another left tackle next year in the first round, I'd also be cool with that. So time will tell with this. I think Broderick could be good on either side, so it really doesn't matter to me, just as long as they can find somebody on the other side of Broderick now, not named Dan Moore Jr. and not named Chukwuma Okorafor, to kind of anchor the ends of the offensive line for the years to come. So our Super Chat menu today, $5 Super Chat is a Here We Go Steelers chant. $10, we're taking shots. I got lemon juice. Coop's got tequila. $20 is a hard hat. You put your name on the Hard Hat Hall of Fame. If you haven't gotten your name on here yet, there's just a limited amount of space left on the stripe. $20 will put your name on there. $100 total gets you into Steelers Talk Gold Club. So coming up here in just a second, I'm going to let you guys know why I think Mason Rudolph needs to start over Mitchell Trubisky this week, or next week, I should say, against the Indianapolis Colts. Really looking forward to seeing what Mike Tomlin decides to do here, because I think if you go into this game with Mitchell Trubisky, I think there's just going to be, I just think the mindset of the players in the locker room is just going to be dead. All right, but if you get Mason Rudolph in there, somebody that's, as we like to say, football justice. He gets a little bit of time to go play. I think these guys will play their ass off for Mason Rudolph against the Colts. And I think that that's exactly the spark that the Steelers need moving forward. So coming up here, I'll get that going. All right, man, let's get this thing going right now. Last segment for the week, why the Steelers need to start Mason Rudolph heading into Week 15. After this Week 14 performance from quarterback Mitchell Trubisky, it's officially time, Steelers Nation. The Steelers must start Mason Rudolph in Week 15 versus the Colts. And on today's show, I'm going to explain why in detail, why Rudolph, somebody that has been kind of castigated by this organization, was told that he was going to get a shot in 2022 to be the starter, performed extremely well in camp and in the preseason, and then was demoted to the number 3 quarterback ever since, why he should get a shot here to maybe provide the Steelers a little bit of football justice here against the Colts and provide a spark for this team as we head down the home stretch without Kenny Pickett in the lineup. Before we get into the details today, if you want Mason Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer here, to come and save Christmas for the Pittsburgh Steelers and their fans, go ahead, click that thumbs up icon and like today's video. I have a feeling that there's going to be a lot of people that want to see Rudolph get the start next Sunday. So first, I want to talk not about Mason Rudolph. We'll get to him in a second. I want to talk about why Mitchell Trubisky, the person that the Steelers paid $10 million this season to be the backup, shouldn't start. All right, so let's break down Trubisky's stats, man, and they're just ugly here in 2023, and there's no other way to put it. You look at his stats from this past week against the Patriots, his opportunity to show that he could be still a top-flight backup quarterback in this league, and he did not answer the call. I know it's a Belichick defense. I know that defense has been playing really good the last month, but this was like pulling teeth watching this offense with Mitch Trubisky throwing the football, man. 190 yards passing. He had a passing and a rushing touchdown and an interception, but it really could have easily been 3 interceptions if we're being quite honest with you, and the rating at 74.7 does not do justice to just how bad Mitchell Trubisky was against the New England Patriots. Then this season, in 4 games played and in 1 start, it just hasn't been good for the backup quarterback here in Pittsburgh. The completion percentage is down to just 60%. You got the yards at 463, so averaging about 110 yards a game, something like that. Then we got 5.5 yards per attempt, not great whatsoever. That would be among the lowest in the National Football League, and he has 3 touchdowns to 3 interceptions, and really you could add 2 to that total based on the ones that were taken away in yesterday's ball game. So I think what we learned against the Patriots this week is that this offense is not good enough with Mitchell Trubisky as the quarterback. And I'm not exactly sure that with Mason Rudolph it's going to be any better, but I'm not sure if it can get worse than what it was with Mitchell Trubisky. This stuff is not working with Trubisky under center. We've seen that in 4 games this year with Trubisky in there. I think that it's time for a change. I really, really do. Trubisky just hasn't been that guy. And if the Steelers want to save any shot of saving their season at this point, I really don't think Mitchell Trubisky is going to be that guy for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, coming up here, I'm going to be talking about the recently signed practice squad quarterback, Trace McSorley, and why he shouldn't get a chance to prove himself here in the final weeks of the 2023 campaign. But before I get into that, let's have a word from our sponsor here at PrizePicks. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. If you want to spice up your game days this NFL season, then PrizePicks is going to be perfect for you. It is a skill-based, real money daily fantasy sports game. And you might be asking yourself, Jack, how does daily fantasy sports work? Well, here's how. You pick 2 to 6 players, if they'll go for more or less than their PrizePicks projection. You can even win up to 25 times your money on any entry. And this weekend here, my PrizePicks projection here is I'm going to go with the more Brock Purdy passing yards, more for the Travis Kelce touchdowns. He always gets a touchdown, right? And then I'm going to get the more on Saquon Barkley touchdowns because he's on my fantasy team, and I need a win this week. All right, now you can get your picks in. If you know ball, you can make money with PrizePicks today. You can check it out now at prizepicks.com prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for a first deposit match up to $100 today. With Prize Picks, it takes less than 60 seconds to make your picks. So get started right now. Go to prizepicks.com/CLNS and use our code CLNS for first deposit match up to $100 today. So we talked about why Mitch Trubisky should be benched, but what about Trace McSorley? He's a Penn State legend, somebody that provides a little bit of athleticism maybe. But honestly, guys, McSorley isn't a good option to start for the Pittsburgh Steelers either. And honestly, he might be even worse than Trubisky, which is saying something. So McSorley throughout his career, 9 games played, you look at that completion percentage, that is dog water, man. 51.6 for an average of 5.4. That's close to what Mitch Trubisky is getting per attempt. Just so you guys know, it's actually lower than what Mitch has gotten for the Steelers this year, which is saying something. And then 5 interceptions to just 1 touchdown should tell you everything that you need to know about Trace McSorley. And then not only is his previous stats bad, okay, but also he's just picking up this offense. All right, Mitchell Trubisky and Mason Rudolph have had this playbook for a long time at this point. They've been with the organization for the last at least 2 years in Mitch's case, even longer for Mason. This guy just joined the team last week, all right? This week, if you want to call it this week, right? This is going to be going out on Saturday. So McSorley's not the answer, guys. He's just not. I know he's a Pennsylvania quarterback legend, former Nittany Lion. I understand that a lot of Steelers fans out there might want to see him play in a Steelers uniform here, especially because they feel like the season's already over. But I'm telling you right now, if you want to win, Trace McSorley's probably not your option. All right, so coming up next, I'm going to tell you why Mason Rudolph is the best choice for the Pittsburgh Steelers to start for the rest of this season as long as Kenny Pickett is still on the injured list. But before we get into that, I want to hear from you guys who you think should get the start for the Pittsburgh Steelers Week 15 versus the Indianapolis Colts. Type MT if you think Mitchell Trubisky should get the start. Type MR if you think Mason Rudolph should get it. Or if you think Trace McSorley, put it on a dime, should get it. Type TM down there in the comment section. So I really do think that Mason Rudolph is probably the best, worst option for the Pittsburgh Steelers at this point. Now, what does that mean? That means that I'm not sure any of these quarterbacks are starting capable players here in the National Football League at this point. So they're all bad options. But the question is, who's going to give you the best shot? And I think right now, I don't think it's any question it's Mason Rudolph. Because plain simply, when you look at the numbers right now, when they're in their time with the black and gold, Rudolph looks a little bit better. Now, Trubisky, throughout his time here, a little bit higher completion percentage, a little higher yards per attempt, with the touchdown percentage for Rudolph is way higher. He's got a lower interception percentage, even though it is actually pretty close here. And then the rating is, of course, higher than Trubisky. So, listen, based on the numbers of what they've done, in terms of when they've actually gotten on the field for the Steelers, it's pretty comparable. And based on what we saw from Mitch Trubisky on Thursday night, that's not going to cut it. That's not acceptable. So there's really no downside to going to Mason Rudolph because, they could absolutely suck with Rudolph at quarterback. But guess what? You're probably going to suck with Mitch Trubisky in there as well. So I think it's all about trying to find your best, worst option here. And for me right now, because we've already seen what Mitch Trubisky looks like in this offense, I think that you couldn't really get much worse if you put in Mason Rudolph, all right? And another thing to keep in mind here is that this Steelers locker room is looking for a spark. Their starting quarterback is out with an injury potentially for the rest of the season. Their offensive coordinator has been fired. They need a spark here. And if Mason Rudolph is the guy, somebody that was kind of slighted by this organization in the past, right? He was supposed to get a chance to start in 2022, had a really good training camp, really good preseason, and then he was demoted to the number 3 quarterback spot ever since. Now, like Mike Tomlin likes to say, football justice has a way of coming around here. And Mason Rudolph, if you start him, I think that these players that have been with him for a long time in this locker room would play their ass off for him. And that's what we need. That's the spark that the Steelers need moving forward. And it might even translate to a win against the Indianapolis Colts to save this Steelers team season. If you start Trubisky, I think it's going to be low energy. I feel like everybody's going to be down in the dumps. And I'm not sure if you have as good of a chance to win that football game as if you have Rudolph coming to save Christmas here in the Steel City. Now, before I go, I want to address this kind of rumor here because there's some people out there on Steelers Twitter saying, why not sign a new quarterback? Why not go to free agency and find somebody if none of these guys on the roster right now are good enough? And the answer to that question is that it's just too late in the season. I've seen guys like freaking Colin Kaepernick thrown around on Steelers Twitter right now. Get a fucking life if you think Colin Kaepernick is going to come back in the NFL at this point, man. But some other options that have been thrown around: Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, Phillip Rivers, Drew Brees, and of course, the Big Ben Roethlisberger rumors were even flying earlier this week. So I really don't think that this is going to happen. I can understand why Steelers fans want to see Big Ben come back. He's somebody that actually knows the playbook, so he could maybe make a transition, but he hasn't really been working out. He hasn't thrown since he retired, and he really hasn't shown any sign that he wants to come back. So I really don't think the Big Ben thing is going to happen. And then for all these other quarterbacks that have maybe indicated that they would like to come back, like a Matt Ryan, they just don't know the offense, man. They'd have to learn a brand new offense here, a new terminology, all this different stuff, and then they'd have to be forced to go out there and play an NFL football game, and I just don't think it's feasible for any of these guys to be able to do it. So I think that right now your options are Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph, and then maybe Trace McSorley, but McSorley, in my opinion, is probably the last guy that you want starting for this team right now. At least that's just my opinion. But you guys know my opinion here on the Big Ben thing, but I want to hear from you guys. Could Big Ben come back to have success right now? So if he decided to come back, would he be the best option for the Pittsburgh Steelers over Mitchell Trubisky, over Mason Rudolph, and over Trace McSorley? Would he be the best quarterback on the Steelers roster right now if he came back out of retirement? Type yes or type no. Let me know what you guys think down there in the comments. That'll be it for today's show, guys. Thank you so much for bearing with me here to the end of today's show. I definitely think that Mason Rudolph needs to be the guy moving forward here for the Pittsburgh Steelers, at least until Kenny Pickett is able to come back from his ankle injury, provide a spark to this team, and maybe, just maybe, save this team's season. That'll be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for all of your support. Make sure you click that subscribe button for more Steelers news and rumors content 24/7, 365 for free here on YouTube. All right, Coop. I'm pretty much ready to get on out of here, man. We got 123 real ones watching. Thank you to everybody that stuck with us here till the very end. If we can get to 100 likes real quick, that'd be great. We're 25 likes away. If we can get to 100 likes, I'll take a shot. How about that? If we get to 100 likes, I'll take a shot. All right. So my opinion on the Big Ben thing, Coop, is I think he's done. He was cooked. I mean, Big Ben was cooked when he was still playing here.
He couldn't throw the ball 20 yards.
Now he probably hasn't thrown a football like seriously in the last 2 years, and he hasn't worked out. He's not in shape. There's no way he comes back and he's better than Mason Rudolph right now.
My favorite person on that list was Colin Kaepernick. He hasn't played in almost 10 years in the league now.
Dude, I'm pretty sure President Trump just started his first term the last time this motherfucker was playing. Like, that was a long time ago, guys. It's a long, long time ago. It's almost, 8 years at this point? And this guy's going to come off after not playing football for almost a decade?
It's just not happening.
It's just not going to happen.
And we're not just messing around. Like, multiple people in the chat said that last night, that Kaepernick should be an option. You just can't.
I mean, I understand some people saying, like, let's go get Matt Ryan or something like that, because Matt Ryan has actually been working out. Like, Matt Ryan has actually said, in the right situation, I would come back, and I am in shape to come back. But even last year, man, Matt Ryan, I mean, he was terrible with the Colts. He was awful. So I'm not even sure if he's better at this point. So Dominic Schrader says, Jack, did you want Forbes over Joey Porter Jr.? No. In fact, it was the exact opposite. Not. In fact, it was the opposite. Dominic Schrader is our draft enthusiast here in the Steelers Talk family. I wanted JPJ. Now, I wasn't sure if I wanted JPJ at 16. I wanted a tackle with the first-round pick. I wanted a tackle more than I wanted corner. But when we got to the second round and JPJ was still sitting there, I mean, as that first round, I remember being here at Chat Sports. I remember that watching the telecast there, just pick after pick. I was like, this has got to be Joey Porter Jr. Like the Vikings pick, the Giants pick, all these different picks where they needed a corner. I'm like, this has got to be Joey Porter Jr. This has got to be Joey Porter Jr. And just nobody took him. and he somehow fell to the number 32 overall
Shout out
pick.
Chicago Bears.
Shout out to the Chicago Bears. Shout out to Chase Claypool. Ryan Poles gifted us Joey Porter's son, and guess what? He's looking like already one of the best press man corners in the league. Already. So
He's better than Levi, I can tell you that.
yeah, I love it, man.
All right. You ready to get on out of here?
Yeah, it looks like we're going to get stuck at 85 likes. So appreciate every single one of you guys that came in and watched and kind of vented with us today, airing out of grievances, so to speak. Thank you guys so much for all of your support. We are blessed to have this community of Steelers fans, here to support each other during this kind of dark time in our team's fandom. So hopefully brighter days are on the horizon here in Steelers Nation, but there's no doubt about it. It's kind of a dark day right now, but thank you guys so much for all of your support from me and Coop. We will see you guys later, and until next time.